Hello, this is the first of two videos on the bylaws of the Constitution of the Universal House of Justice. I originally intended to make this as one, but I thought it was going to be too long, so I've broken it down to two parts. It comes from an old manuscript of mine, The Universal House of Justice and the Baha'i World, 1963 to 1973. In terms of sources, the main one obviously is the Constitution of the Universal House of Justice, which was published at the Baha'i World Center in 1972. The whole set of videos I'm making at the moment, the main source is the messages from the Universal House of Justice from 1963 to 1986, and also I refer as general background an old article I wrote with Moojan Momen, tracing the development of the Baha'i faith in brief from 1957 up to 1988. The bylaws are quite extensive, hence my decision to split this video into two parts. And so today we're just going to talk about the preamble and then community membership, local and national spiritual assemblies, and the obligation of assembly members. And then in the second part we'll move on to the remainder of this section of the Constitution. So the preamble. The Universal House of Justice was the supreme institution of the Baha'i administrative order. Its salient features, authority, and principles of operation had all been clearly enunciated in Baha'i scripture and its authorized interpretations. The Baha'i administrative order comprised two separate sections. Firstly, a series of elected councils at universal, secondary and local levels, in which are vested legislative, executive and judicial powers over the Baha'i community. And secondly, eminent and devoted Baha'is who, under the guidance of the head of the faith, were appointed specifically to protect and propagate the faith. The Baha'i administrative order was, quote, the nucleus and pattern of the future Baha'i world order adumbrated by Baha'u'llah. For this term, world order, see my Concise Encyclopedia. It would follow a course of divinely propelled organic growth, during which its institutions would expand, putting forth auxiliary branches and developing subordinate agencies, multiplying their activities and diversifying their functions in accordance with the Baha'i principles for the progress of the human race. The first section of the bylaws themselves concerns membership in the Baha'i community. The Baha'i community consists of all persons recognized by the House of Justice as possessing the qualifications of Baha'i faith and practice. The rights, privileges and duties of individual Baha'is were set forth in the Baha'i writings and laid down by the House itself. Only those Baha'is who were aged 21 or above could be eligible to vote and hold Baha'i elective office. Note that since the Constitution was first published, this has changed, and in 2021 the voting age in Baha'i elections was lowered to 18, although the age at which Baha'is can hold elective office remains at 21. The second section is on local spiritual assemblies. If there were at least 9 adult Baha'is resident in a locality, they could form a 9-member local spiritual assembly. The assembly was to be formed on the first day of the Baha'i Resvan festival, that's normally the 21st of April, and was to be reformed on the same date in each succeeding year. There have been some changes in that provision over the years, its members holding office until their successors have been elected. If the number of adult Baha'is was exactly 9, the assembly could be formed by joint declaration. When there were more than 9 adult Baha'is, the adult Baha'is in the locality would convene on the first day of Reswan and elect the assembly. The general powers and duties of these local assemblies were as defined in the Baha'i writings and the pronouncements of the House of Justice, and they would exercise full jurisdiction of all Baha'i activities and affairs within their localities, subject to the provisions of their local Baha'i constitution. That's an official document. The local assemblies' geographical areas of jurisdiction would be decided by the responsible National Spiritual Assembly in accordance with the principle laid down for each country by the Universal House of Justice. Is on national spiritual assemblies. Whenever the Universal House of Justice decided to form a national spiritual assembly in any country or region, it would call for an election of a 9-member assembly by a body of delegates at a national convention. The delegates would be elected by the voting members of the national community in a manner and at a time determined by the Universal House of Justice, and would in turn elect the National Assembly in accordance with the provisions of the National Baha'i Constitution, again an official document. The elected members would remain in office until their successors had been elected, normally a period of 1 year, until the next National Convention. The general powers and duties of the National Assemblies were set forth in the writings of Abdul Baha Shawki Effendi and the pronouncements of the Universal House of Justice. Each National Assembly would have exclusive jurisdiction and authority over all Baha'i activities and affairs throughout its area of jurisdiction, the geographical area being defined by the House of Justice. It was charged with seeking to stimulate, unify, and coordinate the manifold activities of all the local spiritual assemblies and individual Baha'is in its area of jurisdiction, and by all possible means assist them to promote the oneness of mankind. It would also represent its national Baha'i community in relation to other communities and to the Universal House of Justice. Each national convention would be primarily concerned with consultation on Baha'i activities, plans and policies, and the election of its National Spiritual Assembly. If a National Assembly judged it impractical or unwise to hold a national convention in a particular year, then it should provide some alternative means by which the annual election and other essential business of the convention could be conducted. When vacancies in the membership of the National Assembly occurred, that is, between the annual elections, they were to be filled by a vote of the delegates of the previous convention, either by correspondence or other means decided by the particular National Assembly. Next, we have the obligations of members of spiritual assemblies. This applies to both national and local assemblies. Amongst the most outstanding and sacred duties of spiritual assembly members were the following. 1. To win by every means in their power the confidence and affection of those whom it was their privilege to serve. 2. To investigate and acquaint themselves with the considered views, prevailing sentiments, and personal convictions of those whose welfare it was their solemn obligation to promote. 3rd, to purge their deliberations and the general conduct of their affairs of self-contained aloofness, the suspicion of secrecy, the stifling atmosphere of dictatorial assertiveness, and of every word and deed that may savour of partiality, self-centeredness, and prejudice. And 4, whilst retaining the sacred right of final decision in their hands, to invite discussion, ventilate grievances, welcome advice, and foster the sense of interdependence and co-partnership, of understanding and mutual confidence between themselves and all other Baha'is. So, as always, many thanks to my patrons for their kind support and encouragement. Without them, I wouldn't be able to make these videos. You're very welcome to support my channel if you so wish. Do like, comment and share on the videos. It really does help. Subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos. I'll give a Patreon link below in case you want to provide practical support. So next week we'll finish off this section on the bylaws of the Constitution. Have a good day.